Welcome to The Explainer. You know, for millions of farmers across India, their entire livelihood is basically a gamble against Mother Nature. So today, we're going to break down a major update to the government's biggest safety net for them, a change that's all about protecting them when that gamble doesn't pay off.
So, what's all the talk about? Well, the government just rolled out a whole new framework for the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, or PMFBY. And believe me, this isn't just some small print change. It's a pretty big deal, and it's going to affect millions of farmers all across the country.
But hey, before we jump into what's new, let's back up a step. We've got to understand why this scheme is so incredibly important in the first place. You really have to get a sense of the massive risks Indian farmers are up against season after season. I mean, on one hand, they're dealing with these totally unpredictable and just devastating droughts. You know, a lack of rain at the wrong time can literally scorch the earth and just wipe out an entire season of backbreaking work. And then you've got the complete opposite extreme: catastrophic floods, powerful cyclones that can leave fields looking more like lakes, just destroying everything in their path. And if the crazy weather wasn't enough, there's also this constant, invisible threat from pests and diseases. They can spread like wildfire and just decimate a healthy crop before a farmer can even do anything about it. And that is exactly why the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana was started back in 2016. Its whole purpose, its core mission, is to act as a financial shield against these very things, these unforeseen and frankly often heartbreaking events. Okay, so we know why it exists, but how does this safety net actually work? Let's take a quick look at the nuts and bolts of the scheme as it's been running up until now. So, the scheme has a few big goals, right? Like encouraging modern farming methods. But the most important job it has, the absolute crucial one, is to keep a farmer's income stable. It's about making sure that one bad year doesn't mean they have to give up farming for good.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting: how the cost is split. Farmers pay a really small fixed premium. It's just 2% for the main monsoon crops, the kharif, even less at 1.5% for winter or rabi crops, and 5% for commercial stuff. The rest of it, which is usually the lion's share, is paid for by a government subsidy.
And the coverage itself is super comprehensive. It's not just about crops lost in a flood. It also covers you if you couldn't even plant your seeds because of a drought, or if something happens after the harvest. It even covers these really localized disasters, like a random hailstorm that might only hit a few farms in a village.
All right, so that's the foundation. Now let's get to the new stuff, the big changes that are going to kick in from the Kharif season of 2026. This is where we see how the scheme is building on that original idea to tackle today's challenges. For the first time ever, the scheme is officially recognizing and covering a growing threat, a really significant danger to crops, especially for farmers who live near certain areas of the country.
So, what's the new danger? It's damage from wild animal attacks. We're talking about crop loss from elephants, wild boars, nilgai, you name it. For farmers who live near forests and wildlife corridors, this is a huge, huge relief. They've been dealing with this problem for years. And this isn't some blanket, one-size-fits-all policy. The new framework actually lets individual states pinpoint which districts are most at risk and even which specific animals are causing the most problems. It lets them tailor the coverage to what's actually happening on the ground. Okay, remember this number, 72 hours. It's absolutely critical under the new rules. That is the new mandatory time limit for farmers to report any kind of crop loss if they want to make a claim. And the way they report is getting a major tech upgrade. Farmers will now report their losses straight through a special crop insurance app. They'll have to upload geotagged photos as proof. Now, the whole idea is to make the process way faster and more transparent. Of course, it depends on people being comfortable with the tech, but the goal is to put the power to report right in the farmer's hands. So let's bring this all together. When you look at all these updates, what's the real-world impact? What does this actually mean for the farmer working out there in the field? What we're really seeing here is the PMFBY evolving. By bringing in a modern problem like wild animal attacks, and by using modern tools like apps and geotagging, the safety net is just getting stronger. It's becoming more responsive to the real, on-the-ground challenges of farming in India today. This latest update is one answer to that big question. It shows the system is willing to adapt. But it also leaves you with a bigger thought, doesn't it?
In a world with climate change, with technology changing so fast, the job of protecting our farmers and our food supply is never really done. It's a constant process of evolution.